I was muted. Sorry. What's up, Twisted people? It's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And thank you so much to all of you who are joining me in the live chat and those of you who are joining in the replay, as we love to talk horror, sci-fi, all types of great super type stories here. And today we are talking about Titans, episode 8. Season 3, Home, and a bit of Titans episode 7, season 3, 51%, because I have to talk about that. As those of you who might have been paying attention to the community tab on my channel, and I encourage you to check that out when, I make announcements, I do polls and things like that. My mama was in town. We do the Evil series actually together. So we had a little bit of a delay with these recaps for this one particular Titan. So I want to talk about, of course, the main focus is going to be on Titans episode 8 with a little bit of course, reference to episode 7, because we got to talk about episode 7 a little bit, because I have some thoughts about episode 7 too. But I got a lot of thoughts about just overall where we're at with these plot lines thus far and where we're going. But it's always a pleasure. When I say we, and the reason why I say we're talking about it, because I'm talking about it with you all, you awesome twisted people out there who join me in the live chat and the replay. I love engaging with you all when it comes to storytelling, because that is my jam, the community. Ray's in the live chat saying, let's get it started, twisted people. Ray is also saying, this was a great episode, and Blackfire and Connor, yes, my favorite Titan ship, has become and has the most dynamic and kindred relation. Really? Okay. We're gonna talk about Calm and Connor. We gotta talk about that. I'm not saying I dislike. I'm not saying that. I just say we gotta talk about it. Bannon is also in agreement. Hey, Bannon, thanks for joining us in the live chat. It's saying, I know, right? I yelled when I saw them together. Andres is saying, let's go. Definitely. Yes. Hey, Trent. Yes. Thank you. Missed you last week, girl. I know my mama was in town. So, the weekends were kind of hectic, and I didn't want to give you guys a rush job, because, I like sinking into these discussions. So, had to get it into it with all you. Hey, Twisted Woman. Glad to see you, says Bannon. And Ray is saying the alien name's too long to pronounce. So I think you all are trying to decide Calm and Connor's ship name, which Black Boy, no, that's not gonna work. I don't think so. Then again, Dickory is a thing, right? Dick and Corey, which, I mean, every time I have to end up typing Dickory, I always have, if I'm looking up something on them, I have to make sure no one's over my shoulder wondering, what exactly are you looking up? Dickory, what are you doing? So yeah, the ship names on this show are interesting, very HBO-ish, which is deserving, because it is on HBO. So y'all, let's talk about Titan. Let's talk about episode 7. Let's talk about episode 8. I want to know, first and foremost, if you had to give a grade let's just focus on episode 8 for grades. If you had to give a grade for this episode, what would it be? From A to F, what grade would it be for this episode, in particular of Home? Because I want to know what you all are thinking of it, because I got some questions to pose to you as we go through this. My grade, and I know this is going to be surprising for you all, my grade would probably be a B-. I know I've been ranting about Titans thus far, and the Bat Family, or the Batman Light / Batman Beyond redux that I feel like we're getting from this show. And I don't hate the things that I see that are happening with the show in some regards. I guess my issue is the fact that we only get about 13 episodes a season, and we are going into episode 10. And a lot of this stuff, once again, I still feel like we didn't need to do some of these things. Not saying, and when I say that, that's not me saying inherently I think all of this stuff is just bogus and all these new characters are crap or anything. Not at all. It's more so I don't think this was the show to do some of this stuff on. And we'll talk about some of that when it comes to Scarecrow and some of the things that they're doing and the twist and turn some of this stuff has taken. And we'll talk about that. Ray is saying that they give this grade an A-. Trant is saying B. Okay. Bannon is saying for the actual episode, a B. Yeah, Ray is also mentioning Tim, and we'll talk about Tim. And yeah, Ray is saying they should just name this season Batman Inc. And I've heard it through the grapevine. There's people when you talk about these things, because I mean, of course, outside of this live stream, we're not in a vacuum. Plenty of people, and we talked about this in the last live stream about some of the plot lines, about the fact that we have been so heavily in Gotham, and some of the reasoning or excuse, depending on which way you look at it, has been because of the delays with what's going on in the world and the season that they had to film the show in. And because of that, it just made more sense to use Gotham as a plot. I don't know. I'm not sure if I actually think that's a legitimate thing. I think I'd be more believing that because I think there's a new Batman game coming out and everything, that they were more prone to want to have a Batman connected show feature that in order to promote that rather than the idea. I mean, it's called movie magic. You could be anywhere and make it look like something else. It does not, the idea, it's winter, we can't, I don't really, that, because I also, as someone who lived in San Francisco for about 6 years or so, I can tell you what the outside shots of Gotham look like could also pass for San Francisco, to be honest with you, just because it's like the redheaded stepchild of California. It actually is usually colder and wetter there than all the other parts in California. So you can get away with it being that way, even in winter. So I don't really understand that. But this is what we got, Icky is saying, thanks for joining us in the chat. Icky is saying, at least we get Themyscira next episode. I am bored of Gotham. Exactly. Which was also a battle. There was a Q&A on Reddit with the show, one of the showrunners, with the showrunner of Titans, and they actually talked about how it was a fight to actually be able to use the word Themyscira from HBO because of and the question of other characters coming into Titans, about who they can use and who they can't, who they can reference and who they can't. I don't know if it's the reason why we get so much Gotham stuff because they get permission to use that more than the Titan stuff, which seems weird on a Titan show. But yeah, there's issues. Andrea saying 10 episodes a season is better. If you can make it tight, Andres, that's what I believe. If you can make it tighter, but if you can't, then that's an issue. If what we got, look at where we're at in episode 10 of this season, and it's already like, oh, okay, this is what we got. We're finally moving things along. So let's talk about what actually happened in these episodes. I won't go too deep into episode 7, 51%. But I did have some questions and some highlights that I did want to point out. And it's actually in connection to, of course, episode 8. One of the things I loved about that episode was the fact that Corey and Calm got to work together. We got to see Corey's now infamous line. It's infamous because of the show, mainly just because it was just so cool when she basically fried the crime boss, Valeska, and said, "I'm not just a Titan, I'm a queen." And I got chills. I thought that was pretty awesome. I loved it. And I know I'm going to talk about this in connection to some of the flack that I think Corey is sort of getting. And I think some of the flack that she's getting is because some people really do watch Titans. Only some, because I do think it's the minority, do watch Titans because of the fact that it's a backdoor Batman show. And if it's on anything other than Nightwing and Gotham, they have issues with that. And I've seen that. And I feel like Corey is getting a little bit of the brunt end of the stick of that because of what happened in that last episode where people were like, oh my gosh, she burned the woman before she was able to give her the information. But in the end, they ended up getting some information from the bodyguard and stuff. So it did work out. It wasn't for nothing. Yes, Corey can be a hothead. This has happened in the comics too. She's a warrior, she's a warrior princess like Xena, that's her jam. And I love the fact that they're leaning into a little bit. And they did that in season 1 too, if we remember. She had her moments where she straight up, flame people. And there was a whole joke between her and Dick of Dick being like, hey, don't kill anybody while I'm away. That was a thing. And it was actually a thing in the comics too, in the older comics. So I love that. I love that we're kind of getting a little bit more of that gray area with Kory, but I know she got some flack for that. And I connect that to what has happened in episode 8, which was, I'm taking this in sections, y'all. I kind of want to talk about Kory in a second, of what happened when Crane pretty much, tempted or whatever her to kind of use her powers when she didn't know any. And basically that is what helped Crane to get the fear toxin in the water. And already there are people who I feel like are blaming Kory for this. And oh my gosh, why are we focusing on this? And then it's like, oh, we got too much of Kory's visions and stuff. And I'm like, this is a Titan show, And so it's allowed to have something that's not, necessarily Gotham Nightwing centered. And I actually think it's a breath of fresh air, the Kory storyline that we're getting. And speaking of Kory's plot line, what we got last episode too, which I wanted to touch on in connection to her, was Calm kind of explaining why she had to kill their parents. The whole explanation of everyone basically turned on me. I was cursed out. They all thought that I was the reason why you were gone and didn't come back after your mission. And I basically did it to survive. I want to know, and this is connection to Kory and Connor, right, y'all? Kory and Connor, Calm and Connor, seem to be a thing. More than seem, they are getting down, right? And so I think what my question to you all is, aside, we'll talk about whether or not they're cute and hot and everything, because they're two great looking people. So, I mean, it's nice to look at, Calm and Connor. But even with what Calm had told Kory in the last episode, do you all believe her? I think that's the question, because, we were told before this season started, this is why I had a little bit of a rant the last time we were all on live stream, that Blackfire was going to be the villain this season. And then the whole thing happened supposedly with filming and where they were filming. So they had to focus more on Gotham. So that got kind of pushed to the side. The question is, are they completely done with Blackfire being a villain? Which would be, in my opinion, a waste, because Blackfire is a very big villain for the Titans. And my question to you all is, do you think Calm, having this thing with Connor, her reconnecting with her sister, is being built up to make the betrayal even more, heart-wrenching? I honestly think that's where we're going. So I want to know in the replay and also in the also in the chat, y'all, what do y'all think of that? And while y'all are letting me know about that, I will say that my grade for episode 8 was a B. It was a solid B-. I didn't hate it. I don't hate where things are going. I dislike that it has taken this long and that this Red Hood and Scarecrow storyline has taken up so much air when it comes to the Titans. And we have been told that that's mainly because they had to be in Gotham this season. And so I guess we can infer that because if we hadn't been in Gotham, other things would have been going on. But, and I kind of believe that, only because everything that's going on in Gotham just seems so secluded, right? Like if they take care of Crane, nothing else is being affected in the world. The only thing that's happening is Gotham. It's not Trigon, right? Trigon coming out, about to take over the world, literally the globe, like we had in season 1. And this was my issue with season 2, because once again, season 2 felt so secluded. And it was like, okay, I'm watching the whole season for this one issue. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing that we've fallen into with season 3 in the main plot of this Scarecrow situation. But I want to see what you all are saying. So I'm going to check the chat now, as we're focusing in on Kory and Calm, Kory and Connor, our 3 dynamic duo or trio. Icky is saying this season feels dragged out with the Jason and Scarecrow stuff. I thought I was getting Kory this season. Same. Ray saying, unfortunately, like in life, it's a lose that what you got the duration most likely. I might have to go up to see what you're referencing, Ray. Solomon is saying Corey's been getting a lot of flack this season. People keep wanting 2003 animated Starfire instead of 80s comic Starfire. I honestly think I like animated 2003 Starfire, but I honestly think in terms of like power and like gray area, like, yes, it's the 80s comic Starfire that has the most depth. And that's what Corey, in my opinion, Anna Diop, is channeling. And I love, when allowed, that HBO Max's tie-ins, DC tie-ins, actually lets that happen, which is why I love that scene with the woman. I even loved what happened at the end of this episode, of this current episode, of how she used her power, her awesome powers, and it did cause a problem. But was she wrong, though? Is she really all the problem here? And I want to talk about that in a second after I see what you all are saying. Bannon is saying, from one who really enjoyed Gotham, I'm watching Titans for the Titans and am disappointed we aren't really getting that. Bannon is saying, that's stupid. I love Corey and she is in my top 3 favorite characters that we have on scene. I agree. Ray is saying, I'd rather 80s Starfire than Airhead sex piece in recent animation. Yes. Solomon is saying, I still think that Blackfire is playing everyone and poor Connor will be heartbroken. I agree, y'all. I think, no, Red Eyes. Red Eyes is asking, hey, Chauncey, did I miss the rant? No, you did not miss the rant, Red Eyes. It is going to be interspersed and interwoven throughout this review. So don't worry, you'll get the pieces of it. Like I said, you missed it. I gave this episode a B-. I didn't hate it. And Bannon is saying, call me gullible, but I'm believing her, calm. Or maybe now I want to. But yes, it's a super waste because I was really looking forward to seeing her as a villain. And Solomon was saying they're playing everyone. Iggy is saying there's a theory that the Temerian royal family has secretly been unable to produce fire for decades. So they found peasant babies to switch their offspring with and raise as their own. And we're going to talk about that because I do want to, and that's a very interesting plot line, because I want to talk about that in relation to Corey's vision that we saw, which we'll talk about in a second. Jed is saying, I can't wait to see Raven again. I miss her. Same. Ray is saying, I wish I could edit out the Scarecrow part of this season and the Red Hood deep dive. Can we have like them against Hive Organization and Brothers Blood, the tie-ins? But Brother Blood has to be like long game. Red Eye saying, I like how the writers are trying to make Blackfire seem like she'll be redeemed, but we all know the backstab is coming. I agree, Red Eyes. I definitely think the backstab is coming. It's kind of interesting with Khan because it's like, I love the dynamic that she's having with everyone. You know, her and Corey are connected. Corey has someone who she connects to, although, you know, that was also Raven and stuff like that. And then, you know, Connor's getting a love interest, and I do think they have really great chemistry. But the storyteller in me, the writer in me, is absolutely loving how heart-wrenching and angsty it's probably going to be when she betrays them all. Because that's just, this is probably the best slow burn build this show has ever really done, because they're not very good at doing that on this show. It's either there or it's not with this show. And I honestly think because they were forced, supposedly, in pushing Blackfire kind of back when it came to the season. Everyone, my cat is here. Paddle. Down, girl. Pushing that to the season, that they had to kind of build it up in the background. So there's a lot of slow burn going on here. Better than this show has really ever done with a slow build up to a plot line. And it's kind of a happy accident because they really are, instead of Blackfire coming out guns blazing, she's, you know, infiltrating Titans, you know, getting love interest, having her connection with her sister, being useful, helping. And then when it happens, if it happens this season or maybe next season, I think it's going to be amazing. I'll be sad. And maybe I hope she'll get a redemption arc, like for whatever reason Jason seems to be getting so quickly. Maybe they'll give her that later on in season 4. But for right now, I'm really loving the build up to the betrayal, because I do think the betrayal is happening. Ray is saying, Lo, this is like Gotham 2.0. Yeah. Andres is saying Superboy is going to get his heart broken and go dark side. That would be, see, this is why this plot line is so cool, y'all, because there's so much there instead of a Batman light redux of other stuff we've seen in Batman actual comics. And I say this as a Batman fan. Y'all know it. Y'all know I'm a Batman fan. But I prefer the layered stuff that hasn't been regurgitated to whatever we're getting with this redone Scarecrow Batman Begins plotline, which I'll talk about. Hey, girl, go over here. You're good. She loves me, y'all. I love her too. Icky is saying, I think Calm genuinely likes Connor, but it won't interfere with her mission or she'll betray them in the moment. And I think that's what we'll also see as well, Icky. I think what we will see, and this makes for great storytelling, is that Calm may honestly be conflicted. She may end up being conflicted where she has grown to care, but she also has her mission and she may choose power above that. And to me, this is a way better villain arc, possible anti-hero, eventually plot line than whatever they're trying to do with Red Hood, which is unfortunate because I also actually enjoy the Red Hood plots in the comic books when it's done right. Stop it, hey, Pato. It's giving me love bites, y'all. Ray is saying, I like how Connor acknowledges his dark side and how he uses it to relate to Blackfire. I love the duality of the characters. I agree. I think there's a lot of potential there. Bannon is saying, if they do that, Chauncey, it will be masterful and I will cry as I love it. Yes, very true. Very true. And Ray is saying, why are they giving Blackfire the Tara storyline? LOL. I believe you are referring to, I think it's the Judas contract, which is like a big thing. I think Tara ends up like betraying them. A character also, I don't know if you all paid attention to that Q&A with the showrunner on Reddit, that they did actually mention. So they may not actually be doing Tara's plot line, Ray, because it seems like they kind of want to get Tara, the actual character, to come onto the show eventually too. But then again, this show is good at redoing things they do in previous seasons, so who knows? Deb is saying, hey, thanks for joining us in the chat. Deb is saying, I'm looking forward to that Blackfire villain. Agreed. Let's see. Solomon is saying, I still think that Scarecrow storyline is just off-putting. Something about it just annoys me. We'll talk about that. Red Eyes is saying, feed the cat. No, she's fed, y'all. She's just my baby. I got 3 cats, y'all. So she's the middle child. And she just always wants the attention when she thinks I'm talking to whoever she thinks is on the computer. Don't worry. They are spoiled. Solomon is saying, I still think that Scarecrow storyline is just off-putting. Which I agree. Ray is saying they have made Red Hood basically a common street thug, and it underestimates the brain of the character. He was trained by Batman, for crying out loud. I agree, y'all. I agree. Okay, so with the Kory plot line, I think she's getting too much flack. I think people are using it as an excuse to already just say, look at Kory being so rash, which is funny because they're just playing into her plot line from the 80s, which she sometimes did think to kill people. I think her and Dick actually had a whole debate in the comics about killing. And she kind of doesn't do it as much because of Dick's influence. And we saw that in season 1 very well. They kind of dropped the ball in they did drop the ball in season 2. And maybe that'll return in season 3 somewhere along the lines where maybe they do have that conversation about what Kory ended up doing. Although I don't really think this is Kory's fault. Let's just be honest. This whole Crane plot line could have been nipped in the bud very early on had Nightwing not been trying to do it all on his own and just using the Titans to get clues. You have a super powered team. There's no reason why Connor couldn't use his powers to do all types of things that could have probably found these 2 humans, regular humans, Crane and Jason, some other way besides detective work. But yeah, there's that. Icky is saying, I personally don't like that Kory is depowered compared to her comic book counterpart. She got beaten by Donna with a punch, and Gar even beat her at a point. She's meant to be an expert at combat. Exactly. Although I do think her fight scenes are awesome. And I feel like in this season, they've done better in saying, okay, she's pretty high up there, although she doesn't always get chances, except when they make it so she makes a mistake because she used too much power and something happened, but whatever. Seems like the only time they want her to use her power is when she might get incriminated or something, right? So, I'm loving where the Corey plot line is going. I'm curious what you all think about what her vision is about. Let's talk about Corey's vision, the crown of Tamarian. The playbill said the crown of Tamarian. We see a baby in a carriage with green eyes. And I really am just loving the buildup of this plot line because there's so much going on here with Calm and Connor and Corey having these pieces of visions that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till this storyline starts to be allowed to pop off because there's so much to deal with here. And, some people had, I heard some theories that some people think that because the woman's yelling, my baby, and it doesn't look like the actress that we know is playing Corey and Calm's mother. And this might go to the plot line that was mentioned earlier in the chat about how Corey might be adopted, because we do remember at one point that Corey was told that her her bracelets are actually in place because her fire is hard to contain. And that the reason why she has the bracelets because she's so powerful that they needed something to tamper it down or to, kind of like Cyclops' visor, I feel like, in a way, if you think about it, Marvel, where instead of just having it just go all crazy, there's something to tamper it. So we've heard that before with Corey. And I do think there might be some truth to this theory that Corey may not be originally royal blood. And that maybe, like you're saying, that there's a theory of, peasants being taken who have fire power. And that's the reason why, like, Corey is seen as the future of the planet and stuff. And when she was gone. But then I don't know if that makes exact sense because of the fact that Calm was saying she's the cursed child. She can't produce fire. But it seems like the parents can. Or at least Calm made it seem like she was the only one who couldn't produce fire. So I'm not sure if that exactly works, but it does look like the woman that was reaching out to the carriage is not the person we know as Corey's mom. And if it was, why would she reach out to the carriage like that, right? As she knows as the queen, right? So I do think there's something to do maybe with Corey's lineage. And I'm just so excited about what that might be. I can admit that these writers have me a bit intrigued on where they're going with this and I want to know what y'all think about that. What are your theories? I mean, do you think it makes sense that maybe Corey was adopted and maybe taken from some powerful peasant who, maybe they were enslaved and things like that. And they took her when she had powers and raised her as royalty? Maybe something like that. I think it's very interesting. I think it's the most interesting thing of this show right now. But I'm very curious and I love that we're getting pieces. I'd love a full blown season, but when we do get pieces of it, I really do enjoy that. Icky is saying maybe Corey's father cheated on Corey's mother. So as revenge, she took Corey and casted her out. That might be a thing. You might be right about that. Ray is saying that would make it all the more worse if Corey is held as this and Blackfire is the legit heir and treated like trash. Well, if you think about it, isn't that what happens in the comic books, right, Ray? But in a different kind of way. In the comics, Calm is the older sister. So technically, Calm is supposed to be the one that takes the throne, but they want Corey to do it. So maybe we're seeing a remixing of it, where it's not even about her being the Calm being the next in line, therefore the rightful heir. Maybe it's a thing of, you're not even a legitimate child. I am, and I can't get the crown. What's going on here? And yes, Deb, both Corey and Dick are having visions, which we'll talk about in a second when it comes to Dick. Yeah, so let's see what else y'all are saying. Brandon is saying, if Corey is adopted, would that then drive the wedge between the sisters and make Blackfire then go full villain? Maybe, but we don't know what Calm really knows, because the question is, Calm said to Corey, I came down here to find you because I want you to come back and rule with me, because they're not, to get some peace off, because they're not really going to accept me. I had to take over by force and blah, blah, blah. The thing is, though, then, why isn't Calm actively trying to get Corey to leave the planet? that's my question. If the whole thing was to try to get you to come back, why aren't you constantly bringing it up? Hey, have you thought about what I said? So we can go back to Tamaran and I can contact some people to send us a ship or something. The people who support me in my court. It seems a little weird that she's not in a rush to get back to the planet, to the point where she's hooking up with Connor and thinking of where they could go in terms of a relationship, right? So I don't know. Ray is saying, did one of them have a child? I don't think Corey and Calm had children. I think that's something Corey would have mentioned, but I don't think that's the case because of the fact that we see the actress that's playing whoever that is saying my baby, and it's not Corey and it's not Calm. So that's why I think the child and the carriage, and we know because of the green eyes that it's definitely not Calm. And that's why I think it's Corey. Although some people are saying maybe that's their brother, but I don't think that's the case either. And we all know if Corey is still having visions, because originally everyone thought the reason why Corey was having visions was because of Calm, right? We thought Corey was having visions because Calm was trying to get connection to her to get her out of the thing. And in some part that was true, but Corey is still having visions and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with Calm, seemingly. So who else is trying to communicate with her somehow? That's the question. And I want you all to let me know in the chat and also in the replay, who else could be trying to communicate with Corey, or what memories from Corey are trying to resurface that maybe she doesn't know. But I think it's super interesting. I think it's the most interesting thing of the show so far. Red Eyes is saying, I don't agree with the adoption angle based on their dialogue. One of them being adopted would have been brought already. Not if the parents kept it a secret. Maybe not completely adopted. Maybe like someone mentioned, Corey's dad having an affair with a peasant woman, you know. Red Eye saying, I think Blackfire lied about killing the parents. That's why she's not in a rush to go home. That may also be true, but why lie about killing the parents? Are they imprisoned? Why haven't they contacted their daughter? If they're super powerful, why haven't they tried to contact Corey? I think that's another question we have to think about. So, you know, we have some great stuff happening with Corey. And, you know, y'all, I don't necessarily actively ship Calm and Connor. I think they're cute. I don't think it's made to last. And I'm just so tired of investing in ships that are going to be destroyed. So I'm not going to get too attached, y'all. But if, you know, I love their scenes. I'm glad they got the intimate scene and not Dick and Barbara, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm glad if anyone was going to be shown getting it on in the house in the manner, it went to them. I would prefer Dick and Corey, but we're nowhere near that right now. So if it had to be someone, let it be them. So that's fine. Okay, so let's talk about this Scarecrow plot line. It is a redux, right? And I want to know in the chat and also on the replay, y'all, what do you think of this plot line? Because let's just be honest, this is a Batman Begins plot line. All right. This happened already. In fact, I feel like this happened in one of the cartoons too, where Scarecrow is always trying to release fear gas into the city. When is he not? Honestly, I was quite surprised when initially it seemed like his plan was to put out anti-fear gas. I was like, wow, that's different from what they normally have him do. And then it turns into fear gas. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're back. This is our regularly scheduled Batman program, y'all. Because I think this is a bit, we had the whole thing with Crane's mom, which, okay, sure. Give the actor some chance to choose the scenery because, he's deranged or whatever. When you have a super powered team like Corey, Calm, and Connor, even Guard to a degree, it just seems a little silly that they've been allowed to get this far in everything. And I honestly feel like, yeah, they're letting Crane ended up being our villain this season, right? We were told it was going to be we were told it was going to be Blackfire with a secondary Red Hood, sort of. And what we really got was Scarecrow. That's who our villain is this season, Scarecrow, who honestly could be taken down pretty quickly by our super powered individuals of this team. But that's not being allowed to happen because they needed to drag this out to the point of the water getting dosed with fear toxin. Okay, cool. Whatever, y'all. I don't hate it. I actually like that plot line. I like Scarecrow. I don't like it in a Titans show, to be honest with you. I don't think it's needed in a Titans show because this is a Titans show. And it's just so predictable. I love the whole idea of fear gas because I love to see what characters react to with the fear gas. So I'm looking forward to that, possibly with the Titans and stuff. But to me, that's the only plus of this turn of how are other characters going to be affected by drinking the water and what kind of visions of fear are we going to get from them? Because other than that, I'm just like, okay, we've done this already, y'all. But let me know what y'all think about that. And also, we're seeing a Red Hood Jason redemption arc. A Red Hood redemption arc that I honestly think has not been earned. Then again, this whole Red Hood plot line has not been earned. It's been haphazard from the very beginning. And I feel like if you're going to have him do all these really horrible things for most of this season, follow through. Let him just do it all this season. And then next season, or maybe at the very end of this season, make him decide he wants to be helpful. What they have done is they did the killing in the very beginning. They did the villainy plot line in 2 to 4 episodes. And now we're doing a redemption arc all within the span of 13 episodes. That's too quick. I don't know if it's because there's a rush because they are trying to get some spinoff going on with Red Hood leading it, but it's just really not earned, y'all. And with everything he did, he killed Hank. And I don't care what that sex play weirdo thing they had them do. This guy's off his rocker still. How am I supposed to believe a redemption arc? You know, no. Red Eyes is saying, let the Red Hood rant begin. I mean, I can't help it. Because it's a mess and it sucked up so much air in this season. And I'm just like, why? Why is this such an emphasis? Oh my gosh. And now I'm supposed to believe his redemption arc. And they got poor Gar. Poor Gar. They've got poor Gar, who they have not given much to do except be everybody's cheerleader, being now Jason's cheerleader. Like, y'all hung out a couple of times last season. Okay. He was like the unruly brother you never had. Cool. But is that enough? Like, I don't get it. It's like they needed someone to be his cheerleader. Oh, let Gar do it. Come on, y'all. Come on. Like, come on. I'm not here for it. I don't believe it. Solomon is saying the show loves expressing that Scarecrow is a proper threat for Titans because of his intelligence. I want hand-to-hand combat, not a challenge of the mind. LOL. You know, yeah, I don't mind psychological drama and stuff. I think that can be cool, but I just think the moves that they've had Scarecrow make just don't really even the psychological stuff doesn't really add up, because all of his psychological stuff, if you think about it, has been geared towards Nightwing and Jason. It's not like he's been playing psychological games with all of the Titans. He hasn't really engaged with all of the Titans. The one time they really had him really engaged was this episode when he tricked Starfire into using her powers to blast the ground or whatever, right? Come on, right? So it's not even like he's a match for all the Titans because he hasn't really been allowed to go after all the Titans. At least if you're going to have a villain of Titans, should be a villain that goes after all of the Titans. And this has been the issue with season 2 and now season 3, where we have villains who are very much focused on Nightwing and Gotham in the particular sense of this season. And then with season 2, it was all about Nightwing and I Told You and the old Titans. Not all of the Titans, just the old ones, right? Yeah, and it made me focus on Nightwing. I felt like I loved the first season because Trigon was about world domination, universe domination, and he brought all of them into scary dreams and stuff of their own. I'm hoping the fear toxin kind of plays on that a little bit, but it took 10 episodes to get here, right? Bannon is saying the arc is just ridiculous. And can we just say, if they are going to give the guy a shirt to cover up, then give him a shirt, give the girl a shirt too. Yes. Yeah, he very much agreed. Ray is saying, I did hear a rumor of a spinoff in play. I've been hearing that rumor since even before this season started. So Part of me thinks they're trying to figure out how people are responding to this Red Hood plot line and if people would get behind a Red Hood show. I don't know if they're getting the results that they wanted, because you have a team, you have a cluster of people who don't really care for Red Hood because it was shoehorned into this Titan show and it kind of sucked up air. And then you have another set of people who, even before this started, unfortunately, don't really believe the actor that plays Red Hood should be the one playing Red Hood. So they think it's a miscast. So there's, all of that. Icky is saying, I hated how they compared Gar's and Connor's brainwashing to Jason willingly killing people. I agree. I thought that was, I didn't understand that comparison. And I guess you can chalk it up to Gar being young of mind. So maybe he's a little bit more trusting and naive, but he's really not, because depending on what universe we're in of his time in Doom Patrol, is that the Doom Patrol, at least in we know that they've been around for decades and they've all stayed that age somehow or whatever like that. So I don't really think, although Gar might be his real age or whatever, sure, but he's a little bit naive than the rest of them. So you can kind of believe that maybe he wants to see the good in Jason, but it was just a really bad comparison. I don't know if they had him make that comparison because they wanted us, the audience, to make the comparison. But it kind of just honestly worked against them, because it drove home even more how more in control Jason was than Gar and Connor, right? And yes, Jason is trying to claim, and there's a claiming of, I did this because I was addicted to the anti-fear toxin, and Crane manipulated me. I just don't think that's a good enough excuse. Not enough to be like, yeah, come back to the team. We'll deal with it. You killed Hank, my dude. You killed Hank. No. And then they had Corey give that non sequitur line to Dick talking about, to be a better Batman, you don't kill. I didn't really understand that. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes they just throw in lines to reference Batman just for the heck of it. I'm not sure. That was kind of weird. But let me know, y'all. Do y'all think that Red Hood can be redeemed in this season? I think it's too quick, and I honestly don't want it taking up more space, his redemption arc. Trant is saying Curran is a good Robin. He kind of makes a whiny Red Hood, though. That's what I feel like too, Trant. I feel like I loved him as Robin when he came in. I was like, okay, I am digging this Robin, because it was such a stark contrast to Dick's Robin, right? And that was great. Him as Red Hood, though, he's still playing Robin. He's still playing adolescent, kind of spunky Robin as Red Hood. And I think this is why I feel like they messed it up by not doing a proper time jump of a couple of years with Red Hood. Of course, I wouldn't want them to do a time jump like that in a Titan show, but if they had him die something at the end or whatever, do the spinoff and have it be years later or something like that, because that's the time he needs to grow up. Bannon is agreeing, saying Curran made a great Robin, but his Red Hood sucks, because we know, I agree with you, Ben. It's like, it's two different kind of characters, because Red Hood is a metamorphosed kind of Robin, right? Who went down a darker path. He's kind of Nightwing, had Nightwing gone really, really renegade or something, right? In that kind of regard. And they're not doing that. They're still doing the Robin, part 2, but with a Red Hood mask. And I don't think it works. I love him as Robin. I'm honestly not convinced of him as a Red Hood. Not enough that he'd get a whole show of it. Red Eyes saying, I don't think he's on a road to redemption. Gar is the only one who actually wants him to be redeemed. Everyone else was like, to heck with him. But then again, maybe they all might be like, Gar, you're right. We need to see the bigger picture. Wouldn't it be hard pressed if they let him go? Icky is saying, I think Karen should have been recast with a slightly older actor. Yeah, there needed to be a time jump of some years, to be honest, unfortunately, in my opinion. Yeah, it doesn't really work. And you're right, Trant. Jason made the choice to start the drugs. But this is also the thing, right? I don't want to get into a whole thing about what drug use and addiction can make people do. Because yes, addiction can make people do crazy things. And people who are addicted, they are sick. I believe there's a sickness there, because there's an element of being addicted to something that they can't necessarily control and things. As someone who has had family members who have dealt with addiction and such, I've seen what it can do, make you steal from your family, all types of things. Do I think it makes you put a heart bomb on somebody? No, I don't think it makes you do that. I don't think it makes you go out and just start randomly shooting people. I don't think it makes you do that either. I think in some ways, some of his choices were fueled by his jealousy and his issues with Batman and with Dick. And I don't think that had anything to do with the addiction. And to me, that's what he needs to answer for. He doesn't need to apologize for being addicted to something. It happens to people. What he needs to apologize for is how something other than his addiction drove a lot of his other decisions with what he did to Titans, Dick, and to his relationship with Batman. And I don't think that has anything to do with the addiction, if you ask me. Deb is saying Jason can't be redeemed and doesn't deserve a second chance. He knowingly sought out Crane. He killed Hank and used Dawn to do it, and he chose to do drugs. Ray is saying a person on drugs is not the same person. So I do get Jason. And that's what I'm saying. I do understand how addiction can work and how it can make people change and things like that. So you want to give people help instead of criminalizing them. But when they start doing criminal things, they also need to be held accountable for it. And so that's my issue with the Jason redemption arc in all of the course of a couple of weeks. I mean, what's the timeline of this? I feel like the season is taking place in the course of a couple of weeks, y'all. And in the course of a couple of weeks, he went from doing all of that, killing innocent people. Let's not forget about the young mother that he made, crack her own neck, okay, leaving her daughter orphaned and everything. To I want to come home. No. Red Eye saying, if you want to reach Jason, what happened to Rose? FYI, Hank isn't dead. So Red Eye saying Hank isn't dead. We probably are going to see Hank again, but I think it might be in some underworld kind of other side sort of thing and maybe not necessarily alive. That's my opinion. I think that's the route they're going with because we do know next episode, or I think it's next episode, we're getting Donna and stuff, and Donna is dealing with the other side. So there may be more of that. And we've seen some behind the scene pictures because we have to talk about the fact that Tim got shot. Y'all, they shot Tim. Like, whoa, man, they shot Tim, y'all. I felt some type of way when they shot Tim because we just got him. We just got our boo. We just got Tim. He's so adorable, the actor that plays Tim. And you just want him. He has that wide eye. Because I love the contrast of the Robins, right? That's one thing Batman's always done really well. The contrast of the different Robins, where you had Dick kind of, growing into the Nightwing, chip on the shoulder, a little bit edgier, a little bit closer to Batman. You have Jason, a little bit more rambunctious, stuff like that. And now you have Tim, who's, a little bit sweeter and things like that. Although I do think that's a little bit different from his, of course, comic counterpart. But, Tim comes to Dick and he's like, yo, I know who you are, and Dick tries to play it off. It's a whole thing. And then he gets shot. He gets shot, y'all. Now, I don't think Tim is dead. Now, I will say, I did find it a little ridiculous that the Titans called the ambulance when Connor literally used his super speed earlier in the episode to run out of the bedroom when Corey walked in, but couldn't use his super speed to get Tim to the hospital. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. Little suspect of how they choose to use different things when it comes to when they choose to use different powers depending on how they feel, right? Trent is saying it's an anti-fear toxin, not a murderous psychotoxin. Everything Jason did, he wanted to, but was afraid to before. And that's another good point about Jason, right? It kind of took away his fear factor of his brain. It didn't necessarily make him so I'm going to be a murderous villain. Then again, maybe that's one of the side effects of the anti-fear toxin, right? Which is why they were trying to get it so originally when that was Crane's plan to get anti-fear toxin distributed on the streets, of why they didn't want that to happen. So But yes, I agree, Red Eyes. Tim's detective work was on point, and then they shot him. But I do love that we got a glimpse of Tim and his great work, right? And his how he can be an asset to the Titans. If he ends up joining the Titans, how he'll be an asset to it. But I do think what we're going to get is Tim getting brought back from the other side. Hopefully this will somehow connect to Rachel and Donna and maybe Hank and bringing, Tim also there. Andre is saying the writers don't know what to do with Beast Boy, so let's tie him with Jason. No, I agree with you, Andre. I think that's exactly what we're getting. I don't know why they don't know what to do with Gar, though, which is so weird to me because, at that Q&A on the Reddit thing with the showrunner, they did say that we were probably going to get an upgrade with Gar. Hopefully he'll get a suit. I mean, Gar should get a suit. And, hopefully we'll get a suit for Gar and maybe an upgrade of a different animal. So I know in the end of season 1, he was actually, I don't know if he ended up doing it. I think he did it because they switched out the way season 1 was supposed to end, right? But I think he's supposed to turn into an anaconda or something, right? He turned into something. So he did have a chance to turn into different stuff. I don't know if they just kind of did away with it though. So I don't know. But Gar deserves his own kind of plot line. He shouldn't need to be tied to Jason, but it's like they don't know how to spread it out. Icky is saying they don't use Connor a lot for some reason. I agree. Solomon is saying I was ready to toss my TV out of the window when Tim was shown, especially since it was done by when Tim was shot, especially when it was done by Scarecrow. The Titans' reactions were all out of character too. Exactly. Icky is saying Beast Boy could have been in therapy or turned into other animals or get a full backstory. I agree. I don't know why they didn't. Yeah, that's what I remember. He turned into a snake. I just remember also at the end of season 1, they switched out the last episode and totally reshot it for something different than what we ended up getting. So I don't know if that, I couldn't remember if that was the scrapped version or whether they really let that happen of him turning into a different animal or not. So we know he can. Gar can do so much more than being everybody's cheerleader. He's been there 3 seasons, and for some reason, a new character is always brought in every season and gets more attention than he does. And he's supposed to be core 4. Makes no sense to me. And the actor's a good actor, so it's not like, we can't give him too much material because he might not know what to do with it. I don't think that's the case at all. So it seems a little silly that that's where we're at with that. So, what we have right now is that the Titans are seemingly looking, or more so Starfire, is seemingly looking responsible for the release of fear toxin in the water supply. So that's probably got, and I don't know if anyone has seen spoiler photos. It's not spoilers, but there were some photos of behind the scenes where we saw and I think they also released it as promo, Titans, of wanted posters. So we know the Titans might be on the run very soon. And this may be because of it, right? What happened with the water supply? The question is, right? And this is where we got to talk a little bit about ships, Dick and Barbara. Now they had that kiss last episode, which was whatever. I just don't see the point of them continuously having him revisit relationships that are done with, but sure. And so this episode, they were supposed to go to the gala. They were flirting a little bit, but now this has happened. To me, I think this drives home the fact that they're not trying to stick with Dick and Barbara as a legitimate relationship, because I feel like the kiss was almost put in to heighten the stakes of when Barbara is probably going to tell them they are fugitives and she doesn't back down, about that. Because where's Barbara at in all of this? How do they become fugitives? It's not on her call. She is the commissioner, right? So I think, if anything, it's kind of funny because I feel like this Dick and Barbara's relationship was made as a plot point just to get to that point where it would somehow be even more stinging that she goes along with making them fugitives. And I'm a little tired of them doing things just for later plot points, but I think that's where we're going. But let me know, y'all, if you agree or not with that. Red Eye saying, don't hate on Night Babs. Whatever, Red Eyes. It's let them have their thing in whatever comic they're in together. Also, just an aside about Oracle. I thought they did Oracle dirty. honestly. When it comes to it was shown, it was dismantled. Crane was able to hack into it. It was a lot. It was like, now you don't come on. Oracle's supposed to be a bit more powerful than that. What are you doing? That was a little crazy. Ray, well, sorry, clicked on wrong stuff. Ray is saying now the Titans are on the run, and is this Barbara once again at her occupational rage and zeroing in on them? Maybe. Bannon is saying, I think they are going to make the entire police department get infected, hence all the water dripping on the desk footage. They did way too much of that. You might be right. It might be that Barbara is being influenced by the fear toxin, that she makes it so that she's choosing to do that because of the fear toxin. Either way, it doesn't. I don't see us getting any more Dick Babs cuddles anytime soon if she's infected enough to make them the enemy. And I agree, she's a great fighter. The problem is they've made it so Red Eyes, that they've put her so hardcore with Dick that we only get these fleeting moments of her being such a full-fledged character, which is a waste a little bit because I actually do like her as a character. I just don't like that matchup that they have as a relationship. Ray is saying, this is the worst version of my favorite Batman story when him and Gordon fall out due to Barbara and the Scarecrow and socks the full Gotham resources on him and Robin. Yeah, this is once again another Batman light plot line, y'all. And this is a Titan show. But here we are. Icky is saying Dick and Barbara just don't have any romantic chemistry. If we have to deal with Dick going on an ex-girlfriend tour, can Faison or Karis show up for Corey? I agree, right? And what happened to the creepy psychiatrist, right? That she was talking to. She tells him bye like 3 episodes ago, and we never see them talk again. And it was just like, what? So wait a minute. It's another thing. Everyone seems to be getting it on but Corey. And that seems really weird to me because Corey, have y'all seen how she's been looking these last, she's always looked good, but they have done the fashion designer for the Corey character and Anna have put their foot in it because she is looking amazing. And it's just crazy to me that I got to keep sitting through Dick getting it on and even Calm and Connor, but ain't no one checking for Corey around the house. Like, come on, that don't make no sense. I don't know about all that because that's my girl. So this is where we're at right now. Tim is seemingly going to be on the lines of death, perhaps, but I think we know he's not going to die. I don't think they do that. The question is, what are they going to use to bring him back? And how is that going to connect at everything? And, what is this going to mean for the Titans being on the run, and whether or not they're going to be able to come back from this? And how do they, save the water supply somehow? How will they be able to do that? That's another thing to have to think about. So a lot of stuff. I don't hate it. I'm glad that the one thing I will say about the Red Hood plot line is that if they are moving away from and giving him the redemption arc, then maybe this can eventually wrap up. I am a little annoyed that this Crane plot line seems to be going throughout the whole entire season because we only have 3 episodes left. So it seems like this Crane plot line, what we got was Scarecrow as the villain this season, y'all. And I just think that's a waste for a Titan show when we actually have real Titans villains that we could have been dealing with. So not saying I hate Scarecrow. I love the fear toxin thing and all of that. I just don't think it needed to be the whole season. I think they could have gave him 2 to 3 episodes and we could have been done with it, but somehow here we are. But yeah, let me know y'all thoughts. What are y'all thoughts on the whole season so far? Has these last 2 episodes changed your mind if you were kind of hating on this season and now you're loving it because of the turn? And what do you want to see more of? I'm always curious to hear what you all have to say. Although I think many of you are on my side when you say that you want more of the Titan centered and less of the Batman Beyond light kind of show. Bannon is saying that's the one thing this season has done right is Corey's look. It's on point. It really is. Oh my gosh, she looks amazing. Like, that scene where she burnt Valeska talking about I'm not a Titans, I'm a queen. I was like, this is amazing. This is what I want. Red Eyes is saying Jason won't be redeemed. Tim will come for him in the season finale and Jason will beat him and leave. Maybe. I mean, either way, we know that that Jason Red Hood has to kind of go on his own journey. Where and how, I don't know, but I know they're probably not going to keep him a villain, but I definitely see him leaving. I don't see him being in the next season. So we'll see where that goes. And Bannon is saying season so far is at a C. I agree. Ray is saying this villain isn't even on the same tier as any of the villains we have had thus far. How we go back to the third string? I don't know. He's a third string villain. Yeah, here we are, y'all. So that's where we're at. But thank you all for joining me for my Titans review mini rant. If you haven't already, please do give this video a like. Engage with the engagement monsters, the algorithm monsters. And if you're feeling like it, while we have a few minutes before I, close it out, you want to give a super chat. So show some super chat love is always appreciated. But either way, I love talking with you all about this show, even if I seem like I can't stand it. Red Eyes, once again, I love this season. Y'all be hating, but I agreed. I was promised more Corey and a look at her home planet. Still waiting. I did hear on the Reddit Q&A that, or I think it was the Scooper. I don't know who it was. They said we probably are going to see the planet. So how and when and in what respect, I don't know. Hopefully, whatever they're building up with Corey now is going to be what leads into season 4. That's my hope in all of this. It's just a little bit of a shame to me that we had to spend a chunk of season 3 on something that has no connection to the future of Titans, if you ask me. And once again, another secluded plot line that's very Gotham centered or Nightwing centered, which I think is a waste. Yeah, and Iggy is saying things would be more interesting if they are following the Citadel plot for Blackfire. And that's might be what we're getting. We do know that one of these episodes called Purple Rain. So we're getting something, y'all. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. It's always a pleasure. If you're still wanting to talk more stories, I will be starting the American Horror Story double feature, episode 5, Gaslight, reaction and review in just a few minutes. So if you want to head over to that live stream, please do so. Also this week, if you are watching Why the Last Man, I will be doing reviews of that, live streams of that, along with the live streams that I do with my mama, who is back safely in Jersey, y'all. If y'all were wondering, y'all saw her last week. She was here hanging out. She's safely back in Jersey. I will be doing Evil with her. Not Evil, but Evil the show with her this week as well. So until next time, thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay watching and reading and looking at really great storylines and stories in general, because narrative is what makes the world go round. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you.